Well, it is time for our weekly political segment, Texas Face Off. And joining me this morning is Travis County Republican Party Communications Director Andy Hogue and Ed Espinoza, Executive Director of Progress Texas. So let's just get right to it. The thing everyone is talking about is, of course, that Beto O'Rourke. Right, exactly. So announcing that he is running for president and in 24 hours set a goal, broke the record for the most money raised in 24 hours, $6.1 million. Ed, what does this say to you?
One, it's a really impressive start. We've never seen anything like this before as far as I can remember. A lot of that is built on the backs of small donors, people who give an amount of, I think it was $44 was the average contribution. He's taking no PAC money. So this is a big splash. The question is, can it sustain? We think for what we've seen from Beto's race in the Senate that it can sustain. But look, it's very early right now. It's March. A year out from a first presidential primary is an eternity in politics. There's a lot of campaign left to go. It is a very good start. It's a good sign for Beto O'Rourke. Campaign left in front of him.
Yeah. What I think is interesting, Andy, is that John Cornyn, Senator John Cornyn, was kind of using Beto for fundraising. At first it was, Beto put a target on my back, I need fundraising dollars. And now it's switched to, you know, oh gosh, now he's going to run for president. You still got to give me money so we can keep Texas red. I mean, it's working out for everyone, really. Well,
it's an ideal situation for us because we have 20, 22, 25. How big is the clown car now, Ed? I don't know. It's getting pretty big. Shouldn't say that probably. But we got that many Democrats fighting each other basically for the spotlight. So that's good for us, but however, they're having a lot of fun taking turns, you know, whipping on our candidates, including John Cornyn. I think Julian Castro jumped in on that the other day, and it seems like maybe he's thinking about getting out and letting Beto be the Texas candidate and maybe running against Cornyn. We'll see. Strategically, it's a smart move, but I think the advantage is on our side with so many Democrat candidates and a limited amount of time to raise money, and I don't know if Beto's going to be able to sustain that. It happened because he had that pressure building up ever since this counter-Trump rally, and then LOL, just kidding, I haven't made a decision yet. And so 2 months later, he finally decides to run for president. And yeah, there's $6 million. Is that sustainable? I don't know, but we shall see.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I think is interesting, and Ed, you brought this up, it's early. It is mighty early. We've got a year to the first primary. Do you feel like it is too early to be announcing?
Not necessarily, because these campaigns are so expensive that in order to raise the funds you need to have to compete, you have to start a year out. So we look at these things, and most people look and see that the presidential election is in November of 2020, but the first primary is February of 2020. And to get there, you got to start about a year out. To build an organization in places like Iowa, South Carolina, Nevada, New Hampshire, a lot of that is a heavy ground game. You have to have hundreds of staff in some cases and thousands of volunteers. That doesn't happen in a month. That happen a year. Even then is miraculous. So it feels like a long time. It is a long time in the real world. You're trying to beat the clock.
Okay, but then of course there's the big factor that we don't know about yet, and that would be Joe Biden.
Yeah, Joe Biden's still lingering out there too, and we'll have to see. But right now you've got about 12 or 13 Democratic candidates. I would say the senators are in the best position. Maybe Castro is the only Latino right now. And then Biden, also looming in here, could definitely alter the dynamics of this race.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when you think about that particular race, do you see any of those, Andy, do you see any of those being good contenders against President Donald Trump?
I really don't. I think Donald Trump has done so well with his base that anybody who was undecided before, not knowing Trump from any other elected offices, he became president from being a citizen, basically. So I don't know if anybody has been significantly shifted away from Trump who already wasn't turned off before. So I think his base has actually grown, and so it's going to be a hard game to beat. Trump's got the incumbent's advantage, and it's going to be hard for anybody who happens to win the nomination.
So then what do you think about Cornyn? Is Cornyn in a vulnerable position? I mean, we saw just how close Ted Cruz only won by about 2.6 points in that election against. So if a Democrat can rally up enough support similar to O'Rourke and run against Cornyn, do you think he's at risk?
Cornyn has a lot more experience than Ted Cruz, as much as I love Mr. Cruz, okay? But I think he's started early. He's got a lot more energy, and he knows. He saw how close that election was, so they're starting now. The Republican Party's lining up behind John Cornyn, so it's going to be a whole different ballgame, and I think he may actually expand on Cruz's margin of victory.
What do you say to that? And what if we get one of those Castro brothers going against Mr. Cornyn?
Yeah, and that's a good point about the Castro brothers, because Julian Castro is running for president, but Congressman Joaquin Castro is the one who's thinking about running against Cornyn. Some commenters have said that he is all but certain to do it. The hurdle that Cornyn will have, if Beto is the nominee, is that he will have to run against Cornyn and Beto O'Rourke. And I can't think of a Republican in Texas that has had to do something like that, basically run against two Texas Democrats in a very long time. He will have his work cut out for him. Remember, we had record turnout in 2018. We hadn't seen turnout like that in decades. And that exceeded presidential turnout, which means the presidential turnout in 2020 is set to be possibly even higher. That is a high hurdle for Cornyn and puts Democrats in a good position. It's definitely making Texas a battleground state.
Yeah, wow, that is good to, I mean, what do you think about that? That is a big thing to say, Texas a battleground state.
It is. I would also have to say that the presidential election is starting earlier. We have two Texans running in the Democratic heat already. So we're going to see how much attention is given to the two candidates. Are they going to be fighting each other to the point to where it's going to be impossible for one or the other to run against John Cornyn? Again, there's a lot that can be said. We're still kind of in the fan fiction phase of the election season, so lots of speculation about unity candidates and whatnot.
Fan fiction.
Boy, I'm telling you, Andy is throwing a little shade over here today.
I mean, next thing you know, we'll be nominating reality stars. We'll see what happens.
Okay. And on that note, we're going to wrap this up. If you guys want to catch this, it'll be posted on KVUE.com right after the show. We'll be right back.